Well, welcome everybody. For those of you who haven't met, I'm Dr. Brian, and today I'm really excited about our class. This is something I've been really wanting to do ever since the whole, coronavirus situation kind of started to unravel. So I want to start out today just kind of sharing a quick story about there's an experiment that was done in the late 60s called the 5 monkeys. Anybody heard of this before? Anyway, so there's a group of researchers, and they put 5 monkeys in a room, and they put a ladder in the center of the room, and they basically were dangling some bananas from the ladder. So if you know anything about monkeys, they love bananas, and so as soon as they saw the bananas, all the monkeys started just to tear off towards the ladder, and one of them started to make it up and grab the bananas. And as soon as he grabbed the bananas, then the researchers basically sprayed all the monkeys with cold, wet water. And so they didn't like that very much, and so they all, kind of went down onto the ground. And before too long, the temptation for the bananas got too much, and so another monkey tried to go up to the top of the ladder and get the bananas. And so the same thing happened again. So they sprayed not only one that was trying to grab the bananas, but also all the other monkeys with cold water. And again, they weren't too happy about that. And so this went on, and same thing happened over and over again. And then they started, the experimenters, they took one of the monkeys out of the room who'd been sprayed with the cold water, and they replaced it with another monkey that had no idea, what was going on, never been sprayed before, anything. And so, as you would guess, that monkey saw the bananas and went tearing up the ladder after the bananas. And so all the other monkeys saw this going on, and they're like, heck no, we don't want to get doused with cold water again. So what do they think they did? They grabbed that monkey and tore him off the ladder and started to beat him up so he didn't go up and get the bananas again. And so one by one, they started to replace the monkeys that had been sprayed with cold water for trying to get the bananas with other monkeys that had no clue or never been sprayed before. And what they were finding out is that the monkeys that had never even experienced the water, they were just kind of following suit of what actually had been happened. They see another new monkey come in, try to go up and get the bananas. They just grab them and beat them up because that's just what they did. Okay, and they just thought that was the normal. And so I bring this experiment up because, that's pretty much, if you look at a lot of the things that go on within our medical system or healthcare model, a lot of it's not really based on sound evidence, or really, a lot of it's just kind of off of rules and traditions. And especially when it comes to a lot of what's going on right now in our community with the whole coronavirus situation. So when we actually look at and kind of sort through all the myths and misinformation out there, a lot of what's happening is not really based on sound science, doesn't even really make sense. And so that's kind of my goals here today, is really to kind of shed some light on that and on this situation, and really empower you guys and really help you, build you up, because if you're watching the news, or there's so much negativity out there, and we really want you guys to be empowered and understand how amazing your body is, how your body is designed to heal itself. And if you give it what it needs to be able to do that, then it's really gonna take care of you. Okay, so there's a few things we're going to talk about tonight. Number one, we're going to be going through the myths around the whole concept of the germ theory. We're also going to be talking a little bit about some of the 5 key things that really will suppress or destroy your immune system, and these are things that people are doing regularly in their day-to-day life. A lot of times they don't even know it. And then we're going to be talking about 7 steps that you can really take, actionable steps to really strengthen and build your body and your immune system up. And so it doesn't really matter what virus or bacteria or whatever's going around. You know that you're empowered and not in state of fear, because you know that your body is designed to to handle these things. So germs have been around for years and years and years, thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. It's not a new thing. And so our body and our immune system, fortunately, knows how to handle those things. So, first off, I just want to thank each and every one of you for taking time to be here tonight. I know there's a lot of other places that you could be. So that the fact that you're here really just shows that you're committed to your health. You really want to, make sure that you get all that information and can really, apply that to your life and get that moving in the right direction. And so we know that information is only powerful when you do what with it? You got to use it, right? So there's no shortage of information out there these days with podcasts, books, DVDs. And there's a lot of health information. It's just people really need to take it and actually apply a lot of that. Number one, you got to also going to get the right information too, which can be a challenge, especially with everything going on right now. And so that's kind of what we hope to accomplish tonight and sharing some of the facts with you guys. Okay, so let's jump right in. So what I want you guys to do here is just take a look at the picture. Okay, and so everybody just kind of shout out, what do you see in the picture? First thing. A girl wearing a bonnet. Okay. An old lady. So there's two things. There's two pictures actually within this picture. Okay, and I bring this up because it doesn't really matter which one that you see. Some of you see, the older lady kind of looking down here. Some of you saw the younger lady that's kind of looking away. But it doesn't really matter. It's just all really a matter of your perspective. Okay, it's not necessarily right or wrong. But I bring this up because it really ties into the whole concept of the germ theory. Okay, so like I said earlier, germs have been around for millions of years. So according to National Geographic, there's 10 I can't even say them, nonillion. So it's like 10 to the 31st power viruses in our world right now. Okay, 380 trillion are part of our body. We have 10 times more bacteria in our body than we actually do cells. And so we wouldn't be who we are right now without these viruses and bacteria. Okay, and so they really play a huge part. They actually help us express certain aspects of our DNA. And so a lot of these things that are in the world, they're also in our body, and they really serve a purpose. That's why they're there. And so so the germs, and we're being kind of taught this, germs are bad, they cause disease, and all these sorts of things that are nonsense that's going on right now. But again, we need these germs. They're there for a reason, and when our body and our immune system, everything is working properly, they don't really cause any issues. And so if the germ theory itself were true, none of us would be around right now to really believe it, okay? Because there's so many germs, there's so many of these viruses out there that there's just no way that you're going to sanitize yourself to health and to be able to avoid these things all the time. It's just not going to happen, okay? So what that means is that we need to have a different perspective. We can't just focus on, and this is kind of what our medical system does right now, we focus on the germs or the disease, come up with ways or treatments or things that we can do to treat or mask the symptoms or disease. Instead, chiropractic, we really focus on health and really what helps your body live and function properly. Okay, and so we're not really focused on the disease. We're focused on how can we strengthen your body from the inside out. And I bring this up because just looking at the flu. So in the U.S. alone, right now there's anywhere from 9 million up to 45 million cases of the flu in any given year, okay? And there's 100,000 to 800,000 people can end up in the hospital from it. And on a given year, it's anywhere from 12 to 61,000 or so people end up passing away from the flu, okay? Same thing, you look at the statistics for the coronavirus or malaria, there's always going to be a certain percent of people that really just, they don't make it through that particular disease. And so, but most often it's, a significant amount. So with the coronavirus, it's like 99.96% of people, survive this illness. They're fine. A lot of times people don't even know that they have it. So why are we focusing on the deaths, on the number of cases, when most people are getting through it just fine? We should really be talking about what they're doing to, strengthen their body from the inside out so they don't get it, or if you do get it, your body you don't even know that you have it. And so that's kind of really what we want to talk about. How can we really focus on the positive and how to strengthen your body instead of how we treat or mask your symptoms once you actually get sick, right? It doesn't make any sense. And so really we're in this whole war right now on germs, okay? So you see all these things. You go into the grocery store. I went up the street here. I had to drop off some boxes we'll talk about the math here in just a second. But I went up the street to the recycling center today because I had to drop off some boxes. We had extra boxes at our house and they wouldn't all fit in a recycling bin. And I get up in there and there's the lady there. There's nobody else there, just me and the lady. And she's like, "You got a mask?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "You need to put it on." I was like, "Why?" It's like, there's nobody else here. You're going to be over there. Like, we're outside. and she forced me to put this mask on for like 2 minutes so I could unload a few boxes. And you go into the grocery store, everybody's sanitizing, spraying, spritzing, all the stuff, bleaching everything, Lysoling everything. Right now in America, 4 out of 5 people are prescribed at least 1 antibiotic per year. And actually, hold on, I'm skipping over some of these things. I want to make sure that I get all the answers for you. So did you guys all get number 1? All right, cool. So 4 out of 5 Americans are prescribed at least 1 antibiotic per year. Anywhere from 30 to 50% of those antibiotics are unnecessary, okay? And so most of the antibiotics are not actually used on humans. Most of them are used on actually a lot of the animals that we're consuming. And so even though we're not necessarily taking the antibiotics ourselves, we're actually getting those antibiotics still in our body through the foods that we're actually eating. And so all these things are really just destroying our microbiome and what's going on in outside our environment as well. And you really look at this and just take a step back and start to ask some questions. And so how is this really going to affect our environment long term, both externally but also internally? Nature is always adapting, okay? And so you just look at, for example, with the antibiotic situation, okay? Right now, about 2 million people end up in the hospital every single year from antibiotic-resistant, infections. And just those alone kill about 23,000 people every single year. And that is a problem that we created. And so, thank goodness that we have, some of these things for certain situations. When I was a raft guide in undergrad, I was kind of trying to show off a little bit and hot dog, and I jumped out of the raft and ran across the rock, and I slipped on this rock, and I gouged my shin pretty good on the rock and ended up getting a really bad infection in my leg. And just literally in hours, it swelled up super big. And so thank goodness, for antibiotics, because probably saved my life at that point. But like I was saying, most of these situations are unnecessary. I mean, 30 to 50%, we don't need to be taking these antibiotics. Our body can actually handle these things on our own. Or there's other things that are better and they're safer for people to be taking that really have the same effect. And so we're basically just kind of bombarding our environment, and nature over time is going to adapt and just come out with stronger bacteria like it has, or stronger viruses. The coronavirus has already mutated, many times. And so, when they start to talk about the latest, vaccine that they're coming out with, well, it's not going to make any difference. We've had the flu vaccine for, over 60 years. And every single year they talk about how dismal the results are. And so it's not going to be any different. In fact, the coronavirus is much more complicated of a vaccine that they're making. So I expect it to be a lot less. But the point is that nature is intelligent and it's always going to adapt. I want to play this video here real quick to show you how fast it adapts and things can change. Creating superbugs, that's right. So let me turn this on real quick.
So what we ended up building was basically a petri dish, except that it's 2 feet by 4 feet. And the way we set it up is that there are 9 bands, and at the base of each of these bands, we put a normal petri dish thick agar with different amounts of antibiotic. On the outside, there's no antibiotic. Just in from that, there's barely more than the E. coli can survive. Inside of that, there's 10 times as much, 100 times, and then finally the middle band has 1,000 times as much antibiotic. And then across the top of it, pour some thin agar that bacteria can move around in. The background is black because there's ink in it, and the bacteria appear as white. First, you see they spread in the area where there's no antibiotic, up until the point they can no longer survive. Then a mutant appears on the right. It's resistant to the antibiotic, it spreads, until it starts to compete with other mutants around it. When these mutants hit the next boundary, they too have to pause and develop new mutations to make it into 10 times as much antibiotic. And then you see the different mutants repeat this at 100, recessive mutations that bacteria, which are normally sensitive to an antibiotic, can evolve resistance to extremely high concentrations in a short period of time.
So there you have it. Just in 11 days, nature adapted, and those bacteria were able to withstand, 1,000 times more antibiotic than they were originally. And so we see this with viruses, we see this with bacteria, we see this with the pesticides and things like that we're spraying, glyphosate over our soils right now, and we see it with our bodies as well, because we're doing the exact same thing. Okay, that is not what health is, and it's not gonna help. You can't just sanitize yourself to good health. The same thing is you can't avoiding germs and viruses, like with the lockdowns that we had or with face masks. That's not going to work out very well either. Okay, and so I was predicting this already when they had the lockdowns. I knew that as soon as people come out of there, guess what's going to happen? The cases are going to go up, because everybody, you're locked in your house, you're not outside, you're not getting vitamin D, you're not around these things, so your immune system just gets suppressed. And then as soon as everybody is let out of their house, then now they're intermixing, mingling and stuff with people, and you're going to see the cases go up, because they haven't strengthened their immune system. In fact, it was suppressed. And that's exactly what we saw there. And so same thing with the face masks. And so this is kind of a frustrating thing. It's kind of a hot topic right now, because we have this whole mix of people that don't want to wear them, people that are really fearful of the virus. And if you actually take a step back, everybody get one of those face mask sheets that I handed out to you guys. So when you look at really what the literature says, is that this has never been done before, where they've totally masked an entire society, especially with the healthy people. Okay, and so I want to go over this, and one of the arguments is, well, it's not about protecting us; it's about protecting everybody else. And so if you have the virus and you don't necessarily have the symptoms, you're protecting grandma over there from getting the virus and dying or whatever. So. But really, in all reality, what's happening is, encouraging the public to, this is out of the Journal of Pediatric Child Health, is just from last month basically, encouraging the public to wash their hands, reduce the incidence of infection significantly where wearing masks did not. There's no good evidence face masks protect the public against infection with respiratory viruses, including COVID-19. Pre-symptomatic or mildly infected persons wearing a face mask for hours without changing it and washing their hands regularly. Come on, let's face it. How many people are just taking their face mask, they're putting it on real quick to go in the store, they're messing with it because it's not adjusted properly, and they're putting it back in their pocket, or they're leaving their noses out, or most of the people aren't wearing it right. They're fudging with it. It's not comfortable to wear, and so they're wearing these things for hours at work or whatnot. Every time they touch the mask, it actually increases the risk of infecting others, because they're just kind of reinfecting themselves. And so here's another one. This is actually from the World Health Organization. There's no direct evidence from studies of COVID-19 and in healthy people in the community that the universal masking of healthy people in the community to prevent infection with respiratory viruses, including COVID-19. So I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the stuff that the World Health Organization says, but when we have these big players when it comes to like authority for these kind of outbreaks and stuff, like here they are just a month ago, they're talking about this. How come now we're forcing everybody to wear these things? Okay, and here's one right here. So they took 455 people and they exposed them to that asymptomatic carrier that everybody's all worrying about. 455 people. So it's not a huge study, but it's it's pretty decent. And then they did COVID tests on those people after they'd been exposed to the asymptomatic person, and none of them had any signs of COVID. Okay, and then this is straight from the CDC website, just from a couple days ago, pertaining to the flu. And so the flu's been around forever. How come they haven't? If the flu is so bad it kills thousands of people every year, like we talked about, how come they've never made any universal recommendations for or shut down the country for wearing masks? So there's no recommendations can be made at this time for mask use in the community by asymptomatic persons, including those at high risk for complications to prevent exposure to influenza virus. That's straight from their website. So, and right on the box it says it does not protect you from COVID. So I'm not saying, I mean, there might be some certain populations or people that if they're really just super scared about the virus, maybe you can put them more at ease to wear one. But in most situations, forcing a population to do something that they don't want to do, or making those health decisions on their own because they're trying to save grandma up the street, it's actually just making the problem really worse. Okay, and so I just want you guys to see that. So when people bring this up and are giving you a hard time, like no, like here's the real facts. Like most of the time they haven't researched this, or they're just kind of believing whatever they've been told. Kind of like with the monkey situation, that they're just doing, here's what everybody else is doing, that's just what we're going to do. Yeah. Yeah.
China, I mean, they wear masks all the time, and it didn't help.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's all these other countries that's just part of, because of all the pollution and things like that they've been wearing masks, and it didn't really stop the outbreak there. So I don't think it's going to work. It's just causing more issues than it is. Yeah. And now they're finding out that you can actually get the virus through your eyes. So, what's going to be next? You got to wear goggles, and, the virus can only, and then there's all these other, ridiculous recommendations for where you can wear, just a month ago, like in Michigan, people could use a sailboat, but you couldn't actually use a motorboat. Next, people are going to only have to be able to, crawl around on their knees because the virus doesn't go below 3 feet. I don't know.
I went to the dentist today with my son, and we have to wear it in, and then they're in his mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So, anyway, what I want to talk about is really just what a symptom is. So when your body does have symptoms, could be the flu, coronavirus, colds, whatever the case may be. So a symptom is really, it's your body doing the right thing at the right time for the right reason. So your body is adapting to the environment that you put it in. Whether it be good or bad, your body is adapting. It's always going to try to do what's right to heal your body and protect your body. And so if you're getting a cough or a sneeze, or say you eat a bad piece of chicken and you start throwing up, is that your body doing something right and good for you, or is it actually a bad thing? It's a good thing, right? Because if you didn't throw up and your body didn't have that response, now your body's keeping all those toxins within itself, and it's going to make you sicker. So when your body has a runny nose, or you're coughing, or things like that, that is your body doing the right thing at the right time to get those toxins, get those things out. Now you put a mask on somebody's face and they're coughing into the mask all day or sneezing into the mask. Now the viruses are sitting in the mask, and now they're just re-inhaling those, and it's getting into their olfactory nerve and can potentially go to their brain. So same thing, high blood pressure, cancer, these are all your body's signs that it's not working, but it's really doing what it's designed to do in that situation. So fevers are actually a good thing. They help your body fight off those viruses, infections faster. So what we do, because we try to be smarter than our body, what do people oftentimes take if they have a fever, give to their kids? Tylenol, ibuprofen, taking something to lower the fever down. Or if you have high blood pressure, people are taking something to lower that down, and you're working against your body's ability to adapt, and it actually will keep you sick longer by doing those things. So by suppressing those symptoms instead of working with your body to help it heal itself faster. So really what it comes down to is whether you have the symptoms or don't get the symptoms, it comes down to really your environment. Okay, so you guys can see we've got two different environments here. We have over here nice lush green pasture, trees, grass, everything's looking really healthy and vibrant and thriving. Over here you have a garbage dump, okay? And so what likes to live in garbage dumps? Crows, you have scavengers. Yeah, so you scavengers, you have, maggots and crows and buzzards and, mice and rats and those sorts of things. So germs are scavengers just like those things, okay? And so what we can do, and what basically is what's going on out there in our community right now, is we're trying to go into the garbage dump and kill off all the buzzards and the rats and the mice and do all this, and we're trying to kill all the rodents, but the garbage is still there. And so before long, guess what's going to come back? The mice, all the pests, all the scavengers are just going to come back because you're still living in the garbage dump, okay? So even if we take all these scavengers and all these rodents and put them over here in this environment, guess what they're going to do? They're going to want to leave because there's no food for them. They don't like that environment, and that's the same thing with our germs. And so we kind of tie that in with our body. And so when you take care of your body and your body is healthy and healing and functioning at 100%, disease cannot exist in a body that's working at 100%. It's impossible, okay? For you to come down with the flu, or for you to get cancer, or whatever the case is, you have to lose a certain percent of function in your body for those things to happen. And so if your body is over here and it looks something like this, it's clean, it's healthy, you're putting the right foods in, you're taking care of yourself, then it doesn't matter. Those germs, you might be exposed to those, but you're going to have little, if any, symptoms or recover from the whatever illness much quicker because those things don't like that kind of environment. It's not where they thrive. Does that make sense? So what we want to do here, and what we're going to be talking about today, is how do we create that in the environment. And really the foundation for your immune system comes down to these two systems right here. Number one, it's your brain and your nervous system, because that's the system that's interpreting what's going on in your external environment, but it's also interpreting what's going on within your body, and it's the one that's able to seek and find and even know if there is any kind of virus or problem going on there, so it can can recruit your immune system to go and attack those things before it gets out of hand. So it's your nervous system and your brain, but also your gut and your digestive system. Okay, that's where you get about 70 to 80% of your immune function really comes from your gut, and so like your stomach, intestines, all those sorts of things. Liver plays a huge part in your immune system. So let's jump right in. We're going to talk about just make sure, did I miss anything yet? Nope. All right, cool. So these are the 5 key things that you guys want to be avoiding because they're going to destroy your immune system extremely quick. So number 1 is stress and fear. Do we have any of that going on right now? Just a little bit. Just a little bit, yeah. So we're scared of germs. We're scared of what the media is telling us. We're scared of what the government's going to do. A lot of people are unfortunately losing their jobs with the whole lockdown situations. It's caused a lot of issues with relationships, people being in close quarters all day long. They're not used to it. And the rates of child abuse and domestic violence have gone through the roof, and it's affecting people's finances. And so when your body's in the state of stress, actually initially, stress can be a good thing. It actually will increase your immune system if it's for a short period of time. Like if you're getting chased by a tiger or something like that, your body is expecting to potentially have some sort of damage or maybe some injuries or wounds or whatever. So it's going to kind of ramp up your immune system for a short period of time in case that happens. But if it's chronic stress, like going on for months or years sometimes for people, then that's really where it becomes a problem because it starts to suppress your immune system. It suppresses your digestive system, and it really causes a lot of issues. So that's the one thing that we want to be avoiding, or we're going to be talking about steps to do that in just a second, minimizing that as much as possible. Poor nutrition. So filling your body up with the wrong food. So there's a pretty famous picture from, I think it was 2008, it was when Hurricane Ike hit. But it's down in Texas, and there's a house that's standing all by itself. All the other houses around it are just totally demolished and leveled from this hurricane that came through. And so the owners of this house, they had been through a hurricane before, and that's exactly what happened to their house. And so it just totally got destroyed, and so they didn't want to go through that again. So they went out and they spent the money and they bought the best building materials. They hired the best architect. They, really kind of customized their house to be able to withstand all the forces of a hurricane. And so their house was the only one along the whole beach that was still standing after this hurricane, okay? And so they used the best building materials to build their house. And so if you think about your body, what is your body building itself out of? The foods that you're putting into it. So that Big Mac, that cola, the fruit roll-up, whatever it is that you had today for food, that is what your body has to use to create your cells out of, okay? And so if you're putting in junk, cheap, garbage materials, then guess what your body's going to build? It's going to build a junk body that's not going to be able to last very long and handle all these stresses that you're exposed to on a regular basis. So these are some of the key things that you want to be minimizing and eliminating from your diet. So sugar. Sugar is one of the key ones that destroys your immune system. Bad fats that causes inflammation. So things like plant-based oils, so margarine, hydrogenated oils, those are all bad rancid fats. Toxins, so dyes, preservatives, additives, things like that in your food. Hormones, antibiotics, which I said a lot of times we're actually getting from the meat that we're eating. So you're going to be avoiding these things as much as possible. Number 3 is reduced oxygen. Okay, and so the way our body gets oxygen in is a lot through moving our bodies and through exercise. That's why exercise is very, very important. And so there's a couple reasons. Number 1 is a big part of our immune system is our lymphatic system. So it helps your body kind of eliminate toxins, debris, cellular waste. And unlike your circulatory system, which has the heart to kind of pump and circulate things through your body, your lymphatic system doesn't have that. And so the way that things are able to kind of move through and your body can eliminate them is through actually moving your body and the muscles contracting. So exercise is very important as far as that goes, but also getting oxygen in your body through exercise, but also not wearing a face mask helps with your body in elevating glutathione. So when your oxygen levels decrease, it decreases your levels of glutathione. Has anybody heard of glutathione before? So it's your body's most powerful antioxidant. And so it helps your body detoxify, but it also helps to kind of bind and eliminate free radicals that can happen from radiation or toxins or things like that. Which glutathione? You put me on the spot here. G-L-U-T A-T-H-I-O-N-E, I think. I'd have to write it down. Yeah, all right. You'll figure it out. Google it. Yes, there you go. It'll fill it in for you, yeah. So glutathione is your body's most powerful antioxidant. So it helps your body detox, and it helps to kind of bind up and eliminate those free radicals that can form and increase your risk for various different diseases. Number 4 is toxicity, and that can come from medications. A lot of toxins are present in vaccines. So these cause inflammation in the body. So if your body's trying to fight and your immune system is having to deal with all the inflammation, guess what's not able to put a lot of energy into? Fighting off infections. So you're going to be more at risk for that. Pesticides, the cleaners, water. So what is one of the ingredients that they put in city water? Chlorine. Yep. They don't have fluoride in the water around here, but a lot of places do.
We checked
Yeah.
that out, you know what, if you were asking that some of us, and they do have 0.7. There's a 0.7.
Oh, okay. There is a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So the fluoride.
I mean, by this ground or something, or did they put it in?
I don't know. I wasn't under the impression that they didn't have it here. So, but yeah. So I mean, some of that's probably going to be getting into the water system through a lot of these other medications. People going to the bathroom and things like that, flushing medications down the toilet, getting into our streams and rivers. But anyway, so one of the key things though with the chlorine is what's the purpose behind putting the chlorine in the water to begin with? It kills all the germs. It kills all the bugs. So guess what that's going to be doing within your body? Kills all the germs and bugs and bacteria that you need in your gut as part of your immune system. And so you want to be making sure, we'll talk about that in just a second, getting a good quality water filter. And then the 5th thing is subluxation, so damage to your nervous system. That's a big one. And actually, hold on, I want to bring this up. So this is a picture that I took just up the street here at Taco Bell. This is from 2 days ago. Okay. And so if somebody gives you a hard time about not wearing a face mask or, following a lot of this stuff, literally when I go out of the office at lunch, these lines at all these fast food places are wrapped all the way around the thing. They're out into the Sullivan blocking traffic. Okay. And so if they're going to mandate something like a mask, how come they're not mandating people actually eat healthy and take care of their body? And, so it's kind of interesting that can go on. So it's not really necessarily about health, but what's
Tell me to not eat Taco Bell.
yeah. So when you have a subluxation, so again, that's where the spine and the vertebrae get out of alignment. That damages the nerves, and so if that's some of the nerves down here in the lower back, yes, that can cause your back pain, But those same nerves, they go out to a lot of your digestive tract. They go out to your spleen, which actually helps your body produce these white blood cells. If it's happening up here in your neck or your upper back, those go out to your lungs. Just by losing that curve in your neck can reduce your lung capacity by up to 30%. Okay, and so what is one of the things that we talked about that can destroy your immune system? Lack of oxygen. So guess what? You're not getting proper amount of oxygen in your body because your lungs can't fully inflate because you got subluxations up in your neck. So there's a David, I don't know if I'm going to say his last name right, Felton. So he's a medical doctor, PhD of neurobiology and anatomy from Rochester School of Medicine. So in his studies in neurobiology and anatomy, he found the nerve fibers go to virtually every organ in the immune system. If you took the nerves away from your spleen or your lymph nodes, you virtually stop your immune response in its tracks, okay? So if you cut these nerves going out to the organs, they're going to shut down immediately because the brain and the nerves are what's controlling those organs, okay? So say you don't cut the nerves, but if there's a little bit of damage on those nerves going out to the body, they're not going to shut down right away, but what happens? It shuts down over time. So my son, some of you heard me talk about this before, but this is just several months ago, he was playing with a ball up on top of the stairs at our house, threw the ball down the stairs, and managed to throw himself down the stairs after the ball. And so tumbled down the stairs, and I didn't see everything happen, but obviously he was crying, kind of had a bloody lip and everything. So I went to go take a look at his mouth and see what the damage looked like. And so he impacted one of his front teeth pretty good, and so we had a nice emergency dental visit because of that. And they did x-rays. The dentist said, oh yeah, he's fine. The tooth's going to come down and all that. And it did, but what they didn't see is that he actually ended up also damaging the nerve going out to his other tooth. And so when you damage a nerve to your tooth, guess what happens to the tooth? It dies, right? So if you damage the nerves coming off your spine here, any of these areas, they're going out to the organs. Those organs are going to start to malfunction over time. And one of the key organs or key nerves that everybody should really know, and it's hard to see on this diagram here, is this blue nerve here. That's called the vagus nerve. So that's one of your cranial nerve. It literally almost goes to every organ in your body. And it's one of the most important nerves pertaining to your immune system, okay? And the vagus nerve, yeah, V-A-G-U-S. So they actually have one of the newer, I guess, technology when it comes to medicine is in neuroceuticals, I think is what it's called. And anyway, so they are implanting these devices in people's necks surgically that stimulates this vagus nerve. So people, if they have like autoimmune issues, so MS, Crohn's disease, rheumatoid arthritis, because those are autoimmune problems, and so the immune response is overactive. So they're putting this thing in people's necks, which costs like $30,000, to try to stimulate this nerve when coming in and getting your spine adjusted and corrected. We're impacting that nerve just from doing that, and the failure rate on those surgeries is really high, as you would imagine. So it doesn't like foreign objects, no. Especially objects that are controlled by somebody else other than your brain and your body, because no scientist, doctor, I don't care how smart they are, is going to know exactly what your body needs every second of the day and the precise amount. And so when they try to manipulate things, and it really just is kind of a downhill spiral from there, okay? So let's jump right into the 7 steps to bulletproof your immune system. So that way it doesn't matter what virus, bacteria, or anything's going around. You're not scared. You are really empowered because you know that your body is equipped to handle these things. So number 1 starts with mindful practices. So having faith over fear. So when this whole situation started here, I was never scared a bit because I knew and have confidence in my body's ability to heal itself. And so some of the things that you can be incorporating in your daily life to help with your immune system are things like meditation, okay? Or breathing exercises. So these are things that are free. They don't cost any money, but what they do is they help lower your body's stress levels. And so when your body is stressed less, that's really going to help with your immune system quite a bit. Making sure that you're laughing. So they've done studies. MD Anderson, the Cancer Center in Houston, they found that having being angry for only 1 minute, it suppresses your immune system for up to 6 hours. So, but if you laugh just for a couple minutes, that actually increases your immune system for over 24 hours. So laughter is really, that's why a lot of cancer treatment centers and things like that, they try to have people go in and kind of lighten the situation and get people to laugh, is because it not only helps with their mood, but that releases endorphins, help their immune system. And so putting on a funny movie or something along those lines can really actually help with your immune system. Number 2 is exercising regularly, and if you can do that outside, that is preferred. Okay, it doesn't take much, like 20 minutes a day, or it could even be less than that. But going out for a walk, riding your bike, kayaking, things like that. Right now is excellent time to go outside because you can get out in the sun, and so it's kind of a double. You get a double benefit because you're exercising, moving your body, helping get oxygen in, but also you're getting exposed to the sun, which who knows what the sun helps to make. Vitamin D, yeah, and so we're going to talk more about that here in a second. So that really also just improves your mood. So getting outside, moving your body, that is huge to your immune system. Number 3 is fueling your body with the right stuff, okay? And so what does that look like? So number 1, you got to eliminate the things that we mentioned before. Okay. Number 2 is you want to be putting the proper foods in your body. So focusing on like healthy fats. So who can give me some examples of healthy fats? Avocado, coconut oil, fish oil, chia seeds, coconut, flaxseed, yeah. So things like that. So getting in a lot of healthy fats, good clean protein as well. So if there's one thing, and we always stress, getting organic and free range and things like that as much as possible. But if there's one thing to go organic with, it would definitely be your meats. And why do you think I would say that? Hormones, antibiotics, yep. And so you're not just what you're eating, you are what you're eating ate. Okay, and so what are they feeding a lot of the chickens and the cattle and things like? They're feeding them garbage. In fact, a lot of them actually, because their whole goal is to get those cows or animals as fat as possible, as quick as possible, so they can get them to market as soon as possible and make more money. And so they feed them old leftover candy, they feed them, soy, just all this garbage, and so all these toxins and things like that get stored in the fat cells of those animals. And so when you're eating those things, you get a really high concentration of a lot of those hormones and toxins. Yeah.
The concentrations in fish generally any better or worse, same as other meat?
As far as the toxins? So when it comes to fish, the key thing there is there's certain ones that are better than others. So ideally, like if you're getting like a fish oil or a mega supplement or something like that, it's always best to get smaller fish, so like anchovies or things like that. The reason for that is because the toxins tend to bioaccumulate. And so the bigger fish are eating the smaller fish, and they're getting the toxins that were in the smaller fish, and they tend to live longer as well, so it all just kind of builds up in their body. So things like swordfish, shark, tuna, a lot of those bigger fish, they tend to be higher in toxicity than some of the smaller fish. So with fish, you always really want to try to definitely don't get farm raised, because it's probably coming from China or someplace over there. And they have them in pens, and they're, feeding them a bunch of garbage. It's the same thing as a lot of the other animals here. So, so if you can get like wild-caught Pacific salmon, that's going to be probably one of the best. Or going out and catching your own fish, that's actually probably the best thing. Yeah. So good question. So where was I? So and then adding in other like nutrients and foods that support your gut, because that's where you get most of your immune function from. So fermented foods, so things like kimchi, sauerkraut, those are excellent foods. You get just a ton of natural probiotics from eating that kind of stuff. Adding in certain herbs and spices as well. So these are things that are oftentimes overlooked, but they have a huge benefit for you and for your immune system. So things like oregano or cilantro or turmeric, or even cinnamon. Cinnamon helps to balance your blood sugar levels. It helps to strengthen your immune system. And so these are things that you can just add a little bit in your smoothies, or add a little bit in the foods that you're making. And so those really make a big difference and can really help support your immune system. So, and then the fourth thing here is quality supplements. So unfortunately, our Our soils aren't what they were years ago, and so they're really depleted. And so apple, 50 years ago doesn't have the same nutrient content as it does today. And there's certain things that people aren't usually just going to eat salads all day long to try to get the proper nutrients. Or here in the Northwest, one of the things I'm going to play a video about in just a second is we're higher up in latitude, and so we only get a short window of time where our bodies can effectively make enough vitamin D. And so there's certain things that are more important to supplement with than others. And I'm going to run through, kind of the 4 key ones that can really help you guys out regarding your immune system. So the first one here is vitamin D. So I want to play a quick video here.
From regulating immune responses to controlling inflammation, the benefits of vitamin D in COVID-19 patients are strengthening. A study out of Northwestern University in Illinois looked at countries with high COVID mortality rates like Italy, Spain, and the UK. It found on average patients had lower levels of vitamin D in these countries when compared to patients in other areas of the world that were less affected. Another study out of the UK backed up this claim, as it found Finland, Norway, Denmark, and Sweden had higher levels of vitamin D and lower rates of COVID-19.
Vitamin D has been shown to have different roles. Specifically, it has an immunomodulatory role that in one way helps our immune system to fight infections, but at the same time, it also has an anti-inflammatory role. So that means that actually regulates the immune response so we don't have a state of acute inflammation.
And acute inflammation has been a common theme in severe COVID-19 cases. At this point, researchers know there is a connection between low vitamin D levels and a poor outcome in fighting this virus. The next step is now testing increased doses of vitamin D in COVID-19 patients, and the University of Alberta is working towards this.
In Alberta, we are going to...
So there's a number of studies that are coming out right now surrounding this, and one of them, they found that 100% of COVID-19 patients under the age of 75 that ended up in the ICU had low levels of vitamin D, 100%. Okay, and our only best defense against COVID is to wear a mask and stay in your house. And they also found in a different study that people that had levels below 30 nanograms per mole, which we have a lot of people coming here that get tested, and sometimes people are at like 10. But people that had it below 30 nanograms per mole had anywhere from a 12 to 19 times greater risk of more severe illness from COVID. So, and when people have adequate levels of vitamin D, when it comes to the flu, it pretty much makes it almost non-existent. So vitamin D is super important. And so what I recommend people take just for maintenance is about 5,000 per day. You can maybe scale that back a little bit less or not take it every single day in the summer if you're spending a lot of time outside and things like that. But usually in the winter, people need at least 5,000. I take about 10,000 IUs a day in the winter because there's not much sun here. Okay, and so I'm around hundreds of people every week. Rarely do I get sick. If I do, I usually get over it pretty quickly, and I think that's a big part of it. Number 2 here is making sure that you're getting a quality protein. Okay, and so this is important. There's a lot of other whey proteins, and people. This is a question that comes up all the time. What kind of protein should I get? Especially if you're into working out and things like that. So the one that I recommend and personally use is not a whey protein, but it's a bone broth protein. It's called keto protein. So it actually has some healthy fats in there that your body can immediately use for energy, but it also has about 15 grams, I think, of protein as well. And it's derived from bone broth. And so bone broth, if you know much about that, is really one of the best things that's been used for centuries to help support your immune system. And originally I was kind of skeptical about this because I was like, there's no way chocolate bone broth is going to taste very good.
I was just gonna add.
Yeah. I was like, there's no way. Because,
Protein powder.
yeah. So you can make your own, which my wife and I do, but it's kind of a long process. You know, if you just have like a crock pot, it can be kind of a stinky process as well, over like an Instapot. But surprisingly, when I got this, it actually tastes really, really good. I use it in my smoothies every single morning. All of our patients that get this and try it, they're like, "Oh, this is phenomenal." So even my kids like it. My kids are 4, and I have a 4 and a 1-year-old, and they drink their smoothies every morning and just slurp them down. So it can't be that bad if a 4 and a 1-year-old are eating it, but that you're getting all the health benefits of the bone broth. You're getting some protein. It also has some other adaptogen herbs in there, which helps support your immune system and your stress response. So it's really good stuff. The third thing here is the greens. So this is, again, something I also mix in my smoothies in the morning. Also, oftentimes drink it just in my water throughout the day. It helps to alkalize your body. So most diseases thrive in an acidic environment, which people are pretty acidic from a lot of the foods that they're eating. But basically 1 scoop of this, it's just basically like powdered vegetables and grasses and some berries, and you get some pre and probiotics a little bit in there and things like that as well. And so 1 scoop of this is the equivalent of 13 servings of fruits and vegetables. I've tried a bunch of these. Some of them, some of them are really gross. Exactly. Some of them taste like you're eating a scoop of grass.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it
yeah.
tastes like I just took like out of my
Yeah.
yard bin.
Yeah. And so for me personally, that doesn't bother me all that much. But this is actually really good. So this one's easy to drink and just with water, or if I'm in like a hurry or something like that, I'll get a shaker cup and I'll put a scoop of the chocolate bone broth protein and the greens in there. So you're getting some protein, and you're also getting some of the other nutrients from the greens as well. So that works really good. And then also vitamin C. So there's quite a few studies also coming out with the vitamin C. Vitamin C is an antioxidant, so it also helps to support your immune system. But similar to what we talked about with glutathione, it helps to eliminate a lot of those free radicals that can develop in your body, and kind of distract your body from mounting the proper immune response, because it has 2 different things going on there. So these are some of the key ones. There's others that you could talk about, like zinc's another good one. Elderberry is another good one as well. Elderberry is not really great to be taking long term. It's more good for like just a shorter season, like in the fall or maybe in the winter. You don't want to take that stuff all year long because your body develops resistance to it. But these are some of the key like foundational ones to be incorporating. So
Bone density.
bone.
As you get older, yeah.
Yeah. So vitamin D is excellent because you need vitamin D to help absorb calcium into your bones. The bone broth is, you're getting all the nutrients that derive from the bones of the animal, so that it's actually more absorbable. A lot of times people come in, taking like calcium supplements and things like that, and those aren't good because they're synthetic and your body can absorb them. And I can tell right away, in a lot of cases, looking at people's x-rays, if they're taking a calcium supplement, because the calcium doesn't actually get into their bones, it gets into their blood vessels. And so no, when you get calcium buildup in the soft tissues in your blood vessels, and so they don't expand and contract properly, so it increases your blood pressure, and it increases the risk of stroke by like 80%. Yeah. So most calcium supplements, I usually tell people to get off those as soon as possible. You can get more calcium from like raw nuts, spinach, eating leafy greens, than from taking like a calcium supplement. So you're best off doing that, using the bone broth, using like powdered greens, than taking something like that. So when we do classes like this, if you haven't been to one of our classes, we always want to reward you guys for taking time to be here. So we always do a discount. So 15% off, any supplements that you're interested in. And then if you get 3 or more, it's 20% off. So it saves you a little bit of money by doing that. 5th thing is sleep. So most Americans right now, I think the average amount of sleep people get is right around 6 hours, a little over 6 hours a night. And so sleep is when your body does all the healing and repair. And so it's really important to make sure that you're getting adequate sleep. You want to shoot for, obviously closer to 8 hours, no surprise there. But what is important is Make sure that you're not using electronics before you go to bed. You want to have your room nice and dark. Cooler, the better. Your body sleeps better when in a cooler environment. So those are some of the key things. And then avoiding your exposure to EMFs, so electromagnetic frequencies. So don't have your phone next to your bed as your alarm clock, because if you do, if you're going to do that, I guess you want to make sure that you put it in airplane mode. Okay, that way you're not going to be getting exposed to the cell signal, because that really messes up your circadian rhythms and just your overall sleep. Number 6, eliminating the toxins. So we mentioned those things before. So trying to get organic as much as you can. Make sure that you get a water filter for your house. If anybody needs one, I actually have some extra ones here that aren't. It's just you can set up for like your sink at your house or in your bathroom. And then I also have one for shower. Those are old ones that I used to have, and they're brand new basically. The filters are brand new, so let me know. And so eliminating a lot of these toxins, because again they build up, cause inflammation, and then corrective chiropractic care. So this is a pretty interesting story here. These are identical twins that were born over in Russia. Masha and Dasha, their name from. They were born, I believe, in the 50s. They just passed away in 2003. And so they're identical twins, so they have the same genetics. They share a lot of the same systems, so same digestive system, same circulatory system, same immune system. Everything was basically the same. The only difference was they had separate spinal columns. And so what they're finding that was interesting, and they're studying it pretty extensively from a very young age, is that one of the sisters ended up getting, was more prone to getting the measles and to getting the flu and to getting sick and getting a lot of these illnesses, and the other one wouldn't get them. And they're like, how in the heck is this going on? I mean, they have the exact same circulatory system. So if it was just all about the bugs and then the germs and the viruses, well, they're getting into both their bloodstreams, but they're not having the exact same response. And so what it came down to is that they had separate spines, and your spine is your lifeline, and that's what's really controlling all the functions in your body. And even Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, talked about that years ago. So many times people see chiropractors because they're in some sort of pain, but chiropractic goes far beyond just helping people with pain. It actually influences your brain. Okay, and so this is an MRI image of somebody that was exposed to a stressful stimulus. They mapped all the areas in the brain that were activated because of that stress, and then they took him out. They got adjusted, and they put him back in the scanner. And after just one adjustment, you can see a huge reduction in the areas of the brain that were activated due to that stress. And so what does that do to your body? So your adjustments and correcting your spine is helping your body respond and adapt more efficiently, which is going to help your immune system function better because having to deal with less of that. So there's other ones. Oh, actually, this is a patient. So she came in from one of our lunch and learns that we did a while back, and she worked at the desk all day, and she was having a lot of issues with her neck. So she's not having any more pain. But when you're in pain, that actually also dismantles your immune system as well. I think that's actually one of the things on here. So chronic pain, number 7. Chronic pain has a devastating impact on your T cells of your immune system. And subluxations are caused by the 3 T's, so thoughts, traumas, and toxins. Sorry, I missed those. So her body is healing and functioning better because we're correcting her subluxation. So she's sleeping better, less anxiety, she's handling stress better, just like I shared with you in that previous example. So Roger Sperry, he's the Nobel Prize winner for brain research, found that prolonged forward head posture decreases your metabolism and it decreases your immune function. So what are people doing all day long? You're looking down on your phone, you're on computers, on devices, and so that's destroying your immune system. There's a huge, up to 200% increase in elevation of your immune system from getting adjusted. So, Kijin, what did you say to me today? During you remember? Do you mind sharing?
No.
since you've been coming in for a few
No, I
years?
don't mind sharing, I just don't remember what.
Okay. So you talked about just you haven't had any sickness or anything at all since you've been coming in. That's one of the common things that we see with a lot of our wellness patients is that rarely do they get sick. If they do, they get over things a lot faster because their immune system is functioning at a higher level. And then also there's another study that they did from Life University down in Atlanta that measured CD4 white blood cell levels in HIV positive AIDS patients. And they had people get adjusted and then did a sham adjustment on people. And the people that got a real adjustment had a 48% increase in these CD4 cells. And the sham adjustment actually had about a 7% decrease in those cells from correcting their spine and their immune system. So the most important health test to have done to find out how your body's healing is by having your spine and nerve system evaluated, because that is the system that is running and regulating everything. Okay, so if you haven't had this done, most of you guys have, but if you're a guest here, we always want to give people the opportunity to do that. So since you're here at the class tonight, it's just $27 to come in. We're going to do a full exam, a scan, and any x-rays that we need to do to get checked out and see what's going on. So anybody have any questions? Yeah.
When you're talking about high temperatures, and I learned over the years that, you know, you gotta burn it out of your system, but what about little children? Is that any different? Because they're always going, okay, children, they have these high temperatures, blah, blah, blah.
Yep. So very, very rarely. So if it gets up to 105, 106, up above that, then potentially it could cause some seizures to happen.
Yeah, I had a fever of like 106 for 5 days after an MMR vaccine.
Yeah.
He was having like febrile seizures.
Yeah.
Chaos.
Yeah. So I mean, so that's the body trying to fight off that infection. And so sometimes it can get up to that point, but when they've looked at the seizures, they usually don't cause any severe complications after that. It's much better to kind of let the fever. Or if you're going to do anything, don't give them like any medication. If you need, you can just use like a cool cloth or something along those lines.
And if it's not something like crazy that their body's just having
Yeah.
a really hard time.
Yeah.
My kids never really get above like
Yeah.
104.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Unless it's something crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it good just to put them in a bathtub and some, to cool down? I mean, kind of, that's what I'm told.
Yeah, I mean, it's better to let it run its course. But if they are like getting up to really high 105 or 106 or getting up in that range, and you're just nervous, don't give them Tylenol or anything like that. That actually lowers your glutathione, and so then it just prolongs the illness. So if you use like a cold, damp cloth or something like that, just to try to cool them off a little bit. But I mean, really, most of the time you don't need to do anything. So usually it's just for the parents. Yeah.
I mean, we all always need that 3-day break where they're just laying there.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. See. Yeah. Enjoy your quiet time where they're just vegging out and not running around jumping off the couches like my kids do. So well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions, and I think I answered everything. So you guys are good to go.